Hello, everyone. I'm number one Marmaduke fan. Summa trigorum, summa spoilerum, summa tangentum. I'm Jordan D. Peterson. Jordan D. Petersoning my room, cleaning my room, and I'm gonna say goodbye to some of the children's books I've collected for cheap or for free. But before I do that, I thought I'd review a few of them. Uh, for these reviews, these are what I call perfunctory reviews, where in the past I've had like this grand thesis where the children's book illustrates some really key idea in good drawing or bad drawing. These ones are just going to be a little bit more to the point, good book, bad book, okay book. I would say this is a solid book with a few weaknesses in the art, but generally decent. This is a really good book to learn, your different types of rock and learn about the Grand Canyon. You learn some historical figures. What I'll say about Susan Lowell's writing is this is very reminiscent, more than a little bit reminiscent of the Magic School Bus series of books, with kind of a magical figure leading kids on a travel through time in a magical, in this case, it's a train, not a school bus. And I'll talk about John Schroeder's art as I go. So I'm guessing this is sort of a tourist book where they'd sell you this when you go to see the Grand Canyon at maybe like a hotel or something. And what I'd like to say about the illustration style is it's what I'd call good children's book illustration style, where I think a great artist who draws children's book, their art kind of transcends the medium of children's book and it retains this really powerful impact over time, and you can go back and look at it and see the artistry. This is good children's book illustration. I'm not trying to be like backhanded in my compliment, but the reason I use that description is that the figures are somewhat stiff, a little awkward. They're not quite super cartoony. They're not quite realistic. They're pleasant. So this, I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to give this a backhanded compliment. These are pleasant illustrations, but this isn't Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss level of iconic illustration quality. In the text, I really dig that the twins, Sam and Rosie, bicker a lot. That feels like something that real kids would do. And then they, see shapes in the clouds, and I like that you can actually find those shapes in the clouds. There's this nice sort of soft oil pastel texture to everything, which gives everything a nice, soft, consistent tone. And then little minor details are shown as well, so you can keep looking for things. Like they mentioned the cowboys in the text, and you can just barely see the ghostly cowboys right there. So there are great little things for kids to look for. Then when they arrive at the Grand Canyon, there's this little mystery. They see kids wearing red suspenders, and they've got chocolate all over their faces, and they see this mysterious man with one arm, and their parents don't believe him. And it turns out that there really is a man in red suspenders with one arm, and it's Major Powell, who is actually a real historical figure who was one of the early explorers of the Grand Canyon. And Major Powell runs the Great Grand Canyon Time Train, the roller coaster supreme with zigzags, chills, and thrills. So the kids get on, and they're still bickering, and they meet some Harvey girls. Very sexist, but the Harvey girls are actually a part of the Grand Canyon's cultural heritage, where I think in the town of Harvey there would be waitresses who would dress like this, and they've kind of like become a part of the culture of the area. And I swear that I've seen this illustration before, maybe in the Magic School Bus volcanic episode, but they compare the types of rocks to different types of cookie ingredients. So sedimentary rock is compared to cookie dough because it's a mixture of different sediments and particles. And then metamorphic rock is compared to cookies because you bake the cookie dough in the oven and it changes. The heat and time changes it into cookies. So that's a metamorphic rock. It metamorphosizes. And then igneous rock requires more heat and more pressure. It's volcanic. I think it's volcanic rock. So igneous rock is compared to fudge because you have to cook fudge at a much hotter temperature. I really dig Major Powell slash Ms. Frizzle's dope mustache, by the way. They also do some really interesting things with the typography where you can follow it as it says certain things like going down. And they have another one where they're spiraling and going back in time. Longer than long, 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 long. What's great about this is kids learn to read by tracing their finger. So they'll trace along that and it becomes kind of exciting to them. So then it transfers into showing you the history of the Grand Canyon through kind of prehistoric times all the way up to modern times. So you see the Cambrian explosion, you see all kinds of prehistoric beasts, and they're not very nicely illustrated. I like getting to see all the detail. They're drawn in a very clear style with good color separation, so it's easy to spot each creature. I even like how some of the things have been made cutesy. Like this thing, every time I see a realistic depiction of these, they terrify me. But in this, it looks pretty. It looks cool. Through the Jurassic Age, I think. And then they see President Theodore Roosevelt. And then Major Powell says hi. He definitely has a Miss Frizzle-esque kind of magical teacher aspect to his personality. And then the kids celebrate because they've gotten to learn so much about the Grand Canyon. And then they review. That's good, to kind of review what we've learned. They show the kids explaining their understanding of the information about, sedimentary rocks, metamorphic rocks, igneous rocks, looking at cliff formations as a layer cake to see the layers of rock formation. And then here we go. Major John Wesley Powell led the first modern explorers to the Grand Canyon by boat. So, hey, I didn't know that. I learned something. Well, any children's book where you as an adult can learn something, I say that's a good children's book. So not the best illustrated book I've ever seen, and a little derivative of the Magic School Bus series, but a very solid book and a very educational book with a lot of interesting things in the illustrations. So I think if you dig the Grand Canyon, or if you've got any youngsters who dig geology and dinosaurs, I think you will find this a very informative book to use with them. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Why don't you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.